Greetings, Klunker enthusiasts. The project is this Shelby. Allegedly, it says so on a paper tag. It has a motor conversion kit, what's left of it, on it, pre-war. And I want to put this disc brake wheel set on it and make it into a half and half modern-ish and ancient clunker bike. But with every one of these rusty crusty things, the first thing you must do is the seat post stuck into the frame. If it is, it's probably a no-go, but I already checked and it's good. It will come out. That is good. The crank arm is welded to the pedal over there. The stay is welded together, broken, probably because the motorized crap. There's a big, you can't see it, but a big ding here. So I want to work on that. The dropouts are toast, so I'm gonna fix those, strip it, and then we'll move on to the next part. So that's what we're dealing with. The secondary goal is not to spend any money and just use what's laying around. This is what's laying around, people. Laying around. This is what's laying around. So, just to give you a rough idea, whatever it is, it's in here somewhere in this frickin' mess. A lot of bikes. Okay, that's the plan. Okay, there it is, stripped. Got all that motorized BS off of there. The dropouts are too thin and splayed out. You can fix the splayed out dropouts, but they're too thin for a quick release. I don't know if you can see it here, but that's a big old ding. So I'm going to try to get that a little better. I may fill it in. It's got some holes in it from motorized abomination stuff, but it's a pretty cool frame. Alright, so I'm going to do that little bit of work and get right back on it. So how you fix those dings or make them better is you get a die, a holder that is the diameter of the tube, and you stick it in a vise and you turn the frame side to side. Try to go all the way around as much as you can, and that will eventually mush some of that back into roundness. There'll still be a bit of a blem there. Maybe you can fill it with some brazing, but that's the technique. You can buy those things. You can make them if you have the mill and all that stuff, but yeah, they're out there. So it's just a little tip. Other frame builders have pointed this out many times, but this is how you do it. So we're gonna go for it and then show you the results. Okay, that's after doing the deal, and you can see that's way better. This thing was super creased. It had a big bulge in it, and that's gone. There's definitely still a big old dent there, and I can fill that in if I want to, but that'll burn all this old paint off, and I know how everybody loves the patina, right? So we'll see. We'll get to that. Anyway, the dropouts definitely need to be made, so we're going to do that next. Alright. So I made a template out of a piece of cardboard, and I machined the slots, the dropouts, for the dropouts. Kind of measure with a micrometer, mark with a marker, and cut with a hatchet kind of jam. I just drew lines. Then I'm going to cut them out, and they should be pretty close. They could be a little off. It is a clunker after all. Okay, so kind of made a mistake. I should have cut two different templates. I cut one, and the trick is, anyway, with when you're making one-off kind of dropouts, you don't have machine tools When you get two, they're going to be, you cut them with a cutoff wheel, they're going to be a little different from one another. That's just a given. So what you do is, after you get them together and line the dropout slot up, and then you use a flap wheel and you kind of just make them symmetrical that way. Works pretty good. I'm going to give it a go. Okay, and move on to the next side. Use a pair of channel locks to make sure they don't fall apart once you start. Okay. Pretty good. Last one, you put it in the vise. You can take these guys off. Get that last one. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to break them apart now. Alright, so there they are. Going to try to pull them off with the pliers. Of course, I got one hand. Okay, like so. And there you go. They're still really hot, so you got two matching dropouts. Now we're going to cut off the old ones and weld them onto the frame. So ran into a little snag. Of course, the frame is crooked as a politician. I don't know if you can see that, but the top tube is even aligned off to one side. Made in America. You don't think people in the 1930s were lazy? Yeah, okay. So, anyway, I gotta get this thing aligned here. There's definitely some issues getting the dropout sorted out. So, I'm gonna play around with it and see how it goes. Alright, so I did what I didn't want to do, which was use the MIG welder. Now, I don't have anything against MIG welding a bike. That's how I started doing this. I wanted to braze it. But, I mean, the stays are all different lengths. One of them was broken. You can see it over there. The dropouts weren't the same. I mean, we're dealing with a really old bike that's really messed up. And so the dropouts that I made are identical to one another. And that's the only thing on this bike that is symmetrical. So this is what we're dealing with. I'll clean them up with the flap wheel so they're not so ugly. But yeah, they're on there now at least. I'm going to do that and then show you the result. Okay, that's some little work with the flap wheel. You can see they look pretty good. I did leave a little meat on there. The wheels in there are pretty straight. The dropouts aren't completely symmetrical, but good. Definitely good enough. You can see there's room. We're gonna get that disc brake tab on there next, I believe, will be the next part of the project. And not bad for one evening. That's where I'm at so far with the Shelby disc brake clunker. Okay, I know I said I was going to do the disc next, but it's important that you see and check the frame to see if it's straight. And of course it is not straight, so I'm going to deal with that and take out my frame alignment tool here and tweak it a little. You know, it's like almost 100-year-old metal. I guess you can't really bitch about it too much, right? Use the C-tube as a baseline and you keep checking. And the head tube, you go over the head tube and you look at this, is it centered? And nothing's centered. And you can get all three of those points good, and then it's going to be pretty straight at that point. There's more to it than that. That looks like it needs a little tweak down some more. Okay, so sometimes you can just manually kind of gorilla it. Yeah, get it to behave. Looks good. And see, but the head tube definitely needs to come down some. So I'm going to do that next. All right, so the head tube needs to come down some. That's about good, and I can see that it's a bit down, so you just, you know, block a 2x4, which actually isn't 2x4 inches, but whatever, is a good tool. It's soft and strong. And that way you don't stick it like I have a metal piece of aluminum dowel basically, and I use that to straighten out head tubes, but I wouldn't try and put it on the frame. Okay, so I went way too far, and that's okay. The whole steel is real thing, you can give it a bunch of bends, and it won't be the end of the world. You can metal fatigue it to a point where it's no good. That. I need to put a handle on that. Okay. Check it. Close. I put a line in the center there, so that needs to come down now. Okay. A little more. So after you've got the frame pretty straight, the head tube is critical, and the bike will wander. So it's flush, go like this, and you can see that's about a 1/4 inch going, that would be to the right. So what I do is I stick this guy in the head tube and tweak it like so. Like so. Okay. And we're going to get another measurement. Alright, I don't want to bore you with me grilling that thing, but now you can see it goes along. That's pretty good. So that's what you want. Then you have to kind of go back and recheck everything again because I really bent the crap out of it. So I'll get that done and move on to the next step. Okay, it's pretty straight now. Now you do not need this super expensive fancy straightening table thing. I got it in a bundle from a frame builder that unfortunately had passed away from his wife, but you can use some kind of workbench as long as the bench is relatively straight. You can get a decent baseline, especially for this cruiser clunker stuff. I mean, you know, it doesn't need to be completely accurate, but you can at least make it better than it was, because you know, this thing was abused quite a bit before I got my hands on it, and I intend to abuse it some more. Alright, disc brake tab is tacked in position. You just use the brake to guide it. I realized why the rotor was loose on this rim, because it's bent. And I will just say that I hate torque screws. Damn it, these things suck. I don't really like hydraulic brakes either. Whatever, I'm just using it there. So it's in position, and I'm going to weld it in. I think I'm just going to TIG it, since I already lost the brazing battle with the dropouts. But we're making progress. Alright. I decided I'm just going to go ahead and braze it. I think it'll be cooler. Now, once you braze something, though, you can't like MIG or TIG weld over it now, because the braze is different material. It's not steel, and then you have to grind it all out. So, but that's okay. This is lower temp. It won't pull the metal all over the darn place like a TIG or MIG weld does. So it has its advantages. It's a lot more zen. Takes a little while. Heat it up. Probably not hot enough. Get that sizzle. There we go. You can kind of do this to increase the heat. It's going to need to get it orange. I got a long way to go. This ain't gonna be no YouTube short, this part. Hell no. It's some thick metal. There we go. I'm starting to see the color. Get it hot. See if it'll take some prod now. Yeah, almost. There we go. Now we're talking. Keep the heat on. Let it flow into the metal. Still a little too cold. Broken. So all I fucking need. Oh, Jesus. Ooh, it's a little unhappy. I cleaned it, but I may not have got it clean enough. Last thing I want to have to do is grind all this off and then use a different method. Hear that little squeaky noise? That's a good noise. And I am no master braze person. I'm fairly new to the whole brazing thing. Too long. There's a gap. Now it's getting real hot. Now I'm pushing the metal around, so I got to get it to suck it down in, go from underneath. Probably should have filed it a little and got the gap better. I see I made some mistakes, which is all part of the fun, is learning as you go. Hold please, hold please. Hello. Okay, I guess that's your choice. Oh, darn it. So heating up the bottom, drawing the material through the metal, that's what you want to do. Trying not to have anything land on me, and that would suck. Looks pretty good on the bottom. Kind of trying to smooth out the top a little. You can always file. Add a little more to the top. Get that gap. I want to see the seam. I want the seam filled. It's looking pretty filled. Now, the brazing can be really fast if you heat things up just right, lay it in there, and it's super quick. Or it could be like this, where you got two different thicknesses of metal and you're kind of a novice like me. Then it can take a little while, because I'm probably pushing the metal around with the torch, and I shouldn't be. I can see some little gaps there. Dig it in and get it to pool up and back it out. If it was a TIG weld, I would have been done already. Okay. Alright, that looks pretty good. Okay, that's all done. A little cleanup. Doesn't look too terrible. Looks like it filled it pretty good. It's definitely still hot. It's in there. That's not going anywhere. It's a lot of metal. So, ouch. Probably not smart to touch hot things with your bare hands, but hey, I never said I was smart. Alright. That's a win. Okay, so I'm moving on to the fork. I want to use this fork here. It was super rusty, and I wasn't going to bore you taking the rust off. And the steer tube on it was trashed and too short. So I'm going to elongate it. That's from a donor Schwinn Varsity fork, which are basically worthless. I want to do 21-1. And then that is about half of the seat post that was stuck in the Shelby. So you're going to use that as a shim. I'm going to show you how to put this together and then size it and everything. So that's the first step. I'll get it set up and film again in a sec. Okie dokie. So a couple things. Some of these steer tubes are tapered. They're thicker at the bottom than they are at the top. And same with down here. It depends. You want to make a shim material out of something that will go in there and just kind of connect the two pieces. You don't want the gap to be too large, and you're going to want to fill that whole gap with weld. If you take a piece of a stem and stick it in there and weld both together and leave that stem piece in there, that part will fail, which I found out the hard way, and you'll be picking up your teeth with a broken arm. So you don't want to do that. Use a vise. I put the two pieces in there. Sometimes you have to pie cut the shim and kind of taper it with a hammer to get it to fit halfway okay. It doesn't need to be super firm. You got to keep test fitting it in the frame with the headset on the bike so you don't make it too short. A little too long, you can add a washer. Too short, you got problems. You got to do it all over again. You get a good level, and you're just gonna, first one, you want to get it nice and looking good on the top, and then you have to adjust from there. So at this point, once I get it here at this step, I tack it. I like to use the TIG because you can get it nice and hot and really control the weld over a MIG welder. MIG's fine too, but whatever. So here we go. The other side. So it's a little more than a tack. Now we have to take it out of the vise and kind of play with it. So I'm going to walk you through that little process here. Hold on. Okay, after you take it out of the vise, you got to take your level and go on each side and check it all the way around to see if there's any discrepancies. So right there, it looks like it needs to come in the scotch, but go all the way around first and just kind of inspect how straight it is. It's not straight, it's not going to work good when you turn the handlebar. It's going to have a sticky point, and you'll start murdering bearings and all this stuff. This one out of the gate came out really good. A lot of times they're pretty cattywampus, but you can see, maybe you can see there, it needs to go that way. So you just do that, a little tap, and you work real slow, and you're going to go around, keep checking. Okay, it looks like it needs to go that way just a little bit, like that. You're not doing much, and you know, get a good. It's nice to have a nice, good quality machinist level if you get one. Another thing is that the Schwinn thread pitch is slightly different than your standard 1-inch threaded stuff. It's a little finer. Just so you know, sometimes you'll run into some stubbornness with that stuff. They tend to work okay with one another, but sometimes they don't. So, just been in my experience. I've done this many times. I race a bike that has this done to it, and I haven't died yet, obviously. So, it's not a bad method. You've got to know what you're doing, though. Slightly kind of checking. See that, and then you're kind of chasing that straightness. Sometimes there's a gap. Checking. It's good. When you get it good, you're gonna want to tack it again, pull it out, and check it again. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and tack it again and check it again and then finish welding it. I like to keep it in the vise instead of bench weld it, just to try to keep it as straight as possible. It'll definitely creep on you. So I'm going to go ahead and try to fill this gap in here. Watch your eyes. I'm trying to fill it both sides, a little wider than I prefer, but it just kind of worked out that way. Sometimes it's a lot easier. I'm going to go and pass over it one more time after I get it all the way done, and then probably have to grind it a little. I should have taken that bearing race off first, but I didn't. Whatever. So this way it's nice and strong, which is what you want because you don't want to die. Okay, just gonna keep the process moving. Probably enough of that to get the idea of what I'm up to. We'll move on to something else. Alrighty, back on the Klunker. I tried to use some factory schmactory disc brake brackets, but since I've got this kind of like landing gear style fork, that wasn't going to happen. So I made my own, and this is kind of how I just hold it together, use a brake, and some zip ties, and you tack it, and it's going to pull. So after I tack it, I got to take all that off and then check it. So I'm just going to run a couple quick tacks on this thing. Ooh, geez. And then see what happens. I have to tweak it a little probably. Very hard to do. Oh, moving. Gotta stabilize it. Always good to brace your hand against something. And this way at least you can bend it, because it probably isn't quite where it needs to be. And if it's really bad, you can break the tacks off and just start over. Sometimes it takes a couple goes. But this is kind of how I've been attaching disc brake tabs to things for a long time. Probably not the best method, but it's the one I'm used to. Okay, that's tacked. So now snip these guys off and see what we got. There we go. That's good. This is loose. So I'm going to take the fork out of the frame, tack it on the other side, and then weld it. I may have to grill the thing after I do that because it's going to pull all over the place. And bitchin', got a disc brake on the front of the fork. See that? I'm just using stuff laying around and trying to keep the price $0. I'm definitely going to have to probably rob some cables from the shop, and I don't think I have any used Presta-Valve tubes that are any good, so probably get a couple old ones and patch them, but we'll see how that goes. Alright. Okay. Get on the fork. Moving through this project pretty quick. I'm not building a frame from scratch. It's way easier. It's really important to clean all this stuff good. The other thing, don't weld TIG, probably even MIG, with the shorts on, like I'm doing right now, like a dummy, because you burn the living bejesus out of your legs. It'll look like a lobster. I'll put this old shirt there to protect my skin from the sun cancer. Okay. Go. On this side. This fork was caked in rust, and someone had spread it out really wide to stick a wide diameter hub in there, maybe a rear hub. I've been guilty of that a long time ago, but anyway, I just stuck it in the vise and squished it back to the correct specifications, and good to go again. So, okay, so now in theory it shouldn't move. So I'll go back to this side and lay a bead down in there. A little bit of a gap. That's okay. Use the clamp there to give me a little purchase. Alright. I think you get the general gist of it. I'll just skip forward and finish welding this thing and then show you the finished product. Alright, finished product. Welds are, so-so. I mean, I haven't welded in a minute. It's okay. You get the gist. That's done. Parts is the next thing, I guess. That's it for welding, I believe. There may be a little more, maybe some cable guides, but I'm going to figure out what to do with the how I'm going to assemble this bike. So that's where we're at right now. One more little thing to weld is the the derailleur hanger thing. I just found a broken derailleur in my junk, and that's what I'm going to use. Cut it and weld it on there. So that's the plan. Now, I'm going to tack it, and then I'm going to cover my legs up. That thing's getting freaking hot. See, because the gloves are totally hammered and there's bare skin. I burn the crap out of myself all the time and never buy new gloves. I'm just stupid like that. Okay. So if you ever do this, it does work. These can be a little flimsy. They do make like one that slides in there, but since I have the rear facing dropouts, those aren't fun. If you get a flat, then the derailleur flops off the frame and everything, and no good. And then the second thing is because that's further down, you could run a long cage derailleur and have a much better range on your on what you're doing, as far as gear ratios and all that stuff. So it's in your best interest to put something there, just like a normal bike. So you just kind of copy what they're doing and just make your own version. This just came off some cheap bike, junk. The derailleur was junk. Probably from like the 80s or something. So that brown material means that the metal's a little contaminated. You gotta clean it. So right there, it looks pretty straight. You can just tweak it with a crescent wrench, so it's not the end of the world. Just try to get it as straight as you can. And go ahead and throw a bead on this thing. Alright, good. Eyeball it. It looks like it came up a little bit, which is kind of normal. You can use a crescent wrench as a derailleur hanger straightener, or just get a couple whacks with something. That looks pretty good. Flip her over, finish it. God, it's 80s. Good. welding. I'm still up in the air about putting cable guides and stuff on it. I don't have any right now. You can make them out of broken derailleurs and use the bushings, but you got to fish through the pile and find ones that are the right size. All right, get this heated back up. Alright, there we go. Now, I think we're ready to do some assembly. Probably need to paint this thing here so it doesn't rust. I gotta paint the fork too, but I'm contemplating doing a color scheme on it, but we'll see. Depends on what's going on. So, yeah. That's it. So now you've got the disc brake Shelby Klunker all set up. Frame and fork ready to go, ready to be built. Alright, this is where I'm at now. Disc brake wheel set on. Cranks on. Derailleurs on. Got a deer head in the rear and a Schwinn Sprint thingy in the front. Genuine Bike Products 13/16 seat post, Evil Ed stem, and I painted the fork checkered, kinda, because you know it's me, it ain't gonna be perfect. I just thought that would look cool, and I would say it looks cool. That's subjective. Not a lot of clearance in the front fork there, which means you can't run super fat tires on this thing, but that's okay. So that's kind of the look. It's looking pretty sweet. Not much longer, just levers, controls, cabling, all that shit. That's next. Okay, there it is. The Shelby Klunker. Initial thoughts. How does it ride? Like some 80-year-old beat up piece of shit cruiser. The brakes are really good. It looks cool. Yeah, I'd say it's a win. I don't know. How do you judge these things? Just soak it in there. Change the angle of the dangle. Give you a little pan. Not a super crazy built from scratch thing, but sometimes it's fun to do something a little easier and just mod an existing frame. And yeah, 21 speeds, disc brake, motocross bars from the 70s, grips from the 70s. Good stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The crank was bent, but I straightened it. So other than that, it's got a deer head rear derailleur. So I didn't put complete junk on this. My intentions is just to put it in somebody else's hands, I need another bicycle, like I need a hole in my head. So that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you. 1930s Shelby Klunker build, disc brake, front and rear, kind of a mishmash of old and new parts. So it's retro and modern. Custom dropouts and disc brake tabs, rear, front. Clunk on, fellas.